So there you have it, guys. You saw the filming process and all that cool stuff. But before getting into these finals between INnoVation and Solar, as I said before, definitely spread the word that this is going on. It's going to be a best of 7 between INnoVation. No doubt one of the best Terrans right now, if not the best, up against Solar. Definitely the underdog coming into this series, but has a ton of potential to make some good games here against INnoVation.
So this is now our 6th SSL final. We had the final with Maru and Dream, then Hero, of course, following up after Classic won the GSL and the SSL. Then Dark defeated Stats in 2016 Season 1. And now, after Solar defeated Dark, he's the defending champion. He won Season 2. Can he be the very first back-to-back champion? That was the same storyline for Dark going into 2016 Season 2. Dark looked to be the first back-to-back champion. He was defeated by then Samsung Solar. And so now, maybe that same storyline, can Solar be the first to have those two back-to-back? The only.
Yeah, and take a look at this, INnoVation's statistics. First place in the SSL Premier 2017 Season 1. He won 7-2, and the 2 games he lost were very, very close. He's won at least 1 championship every single year since 2013. Some people don't talk about INnoVation's consistency, but that is pretty ridiculous, Wolf.
It absolutely is. Let's not forget that he's had 4 grand finals against Zerg. He went 3-1 of those, only ever being defeated by Soki, and that was in 2013 WCS Korea. So he's got a good track record in these high-stakes matches. So the story for Solar is definitely a more interesting one in terms of his progression, getting 3rd place, having to fight through those playoffs. And, he just doesn't have that. At least domestically, he has, of course, results overseas, but here in Korea, he really stands on that SSL victory for 2016, but hasn't accomplished much else otherwise here in Korea, whereas INnoVation has dominated, as you said, at least one major Korean tournament every year since 2013. That was 4 years ago, where he faced Soki.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, and as you guys can see, we do have the map list. South P are going to start with Frost, then Overgrowth, Abyssal Reef, Newkirk Precinct, Whirlwind, Belshire Vestige, not Belshire Vestige, and then Daybreak down there at the bottom. You guys can see the win rates of both of the players. And let's take a look at their head-to-head.
Head-to-head, this is another story here. Solar said, let's toss away the records, let's put that in the garbage, because all that matters tonight is this best of 7. But in total, it's a 21-12 split in favor of INnoVation, going back into Pro League days, Samsung versus SKT storylines. Also, of course, the online tournaments they played in throughout Legacy of the Void. Offline and Legacy of the Void, they've really only played 3 matches against each other. Most of them actually unconsequential. The most important one, of course, was the one in regular round robin, where Solar did actually take that match. So that's actually quite important of a statistic. So when you look at this, INnoVation, again, the massive favorite in terms of results. However, his playstyle has been very figured out. He's very much predictable, as Solar was saying in the interview. And this finals definitely could go either way. I think momentum is very much important.
Yeah, it definitely very much is. And we're going to get into talking about the maps and what we think about these 2 players coming into this. You guys can see an incredible amount of people have come down to the studio. Everybody's holding the banners. The first floor is packed. The second floor is packed. Everybody has made time this Saturday night to check out this finals. And there you do have it. So coming into these matches, INnoVation versus Solar, I know a lot of you guys out there have been making predictions online on the various forums and stuff like that, but what are you thinking, Wolf, coming into this?
I have my prediction sign ready. I'm going to go with 4-1 INnoVation.
4-1 INnoVation, I think that's definitely very fair. Definitely the not underdog, but overdog, if you will, the favorite coming into this one. I went for a bit of a risky pick. I'll say 4-2 for Solar, and the reason for this is when these 2 guys played, Solar did take the 2-1 victory, and 2 of those games went the distance. Very late game, very big maps, defensive maps. Solar, he is so good at playing that late game against Terran, even though the results don't really show it. He has trouble against the timing attacks of INnoVation, but I feel if he can dodge around those and play to his maps, especially with Frost being the first map, I think that's definitely going to help out Solar. If he can get the momentum from that first win, I think he definitely could take this finals.
I think it's absolutely a possibility. I give this to INnoVation just based on really his robotic tendencies, right? His really clean, aggressive play style that always gets him one step ahead. He sets up for this big follow-up attack to crush the fourth base, to crush Solar in this case, or whatever his Zerg opponent is. But I will have to give Solar, though, his late game and also his on-the-fly decision-making seems to be better overall than INnoVation in situations that you don't normally see occur in this matchup. It's INnoVation who you find him floundering, right? Sometimes looking like he doesn't know exactly what to do. He'll make these failed attacks, or he'll commit heavily to a drop that doesn't make sense because it's just what his plan was, his strategy from the beginning, whereas Solar has shown time and time again the ability to flex into different strategies. If the build isn't working out, he has a plan. He has a plan B, C, D, etc.
Yeah. Definitely part of the reason why I voted for him here. I feel like in the high-pressure situation of the finals, both of these players are going to be very used to it, right? They've both been to a lot of finals. They've both won a lot of titles around the world. But when it comes down to it, in the heavy, pressure situations, Game 7, Solar's going to be the guy who says, I know my opponent's mindset so well, I'm going to cheese Dark in Game 7 and take the victory. Whereas, INnoVation, as you said, I think he follows a plan, and if Solar can read into that and really read his opponents, one of the things that Solar is so good at doing, then I think he definitely can take this.
As mentioned earlier, Solar did not have the easy run to the finals, having to play through playoffs, having the much weaker record overall in SSL, 13-10, just over the 50% mark. Had those two very close play games that both go to Game 5. The last game is so important. He makes it through. Many considering him to be the underdog even in those playoff games. Goes through, goes to that Game 5, hits it when it counts, and I feel like that's the story of Solar. He feels like tonight is his night, and even if history speaks against him, even if statistics speak against him, he's very confident that he'll be able to take this best of 7 right here, the only one that matters. This one is for the trophy.
Yeah, it's going to be a really, really sick finals. I've been looking forward to this one for so long. Ever since I saw Solar making it into the finals up against INnoVation, I just knew it was going to be one filled with fireworks. So take another look at the map list. We're starting off with Frost. We go into Overgrowth and so on and so forth. So definitely think it's a good first map for Solar, but definitely one of INnoVation's favorite for game number 2. So guys, let's jump into game number 1 right away. It's going to be game number 1 on Frost between INnoVation and Solar.
시즌1 결승전
Here we go, fly, better fly, Jinair. And up here in the top left, the blue Terran, the favorites coming into this best of 7. He's brought out the glasses just for this. It's INnoVation.
Just for this, man. Super focused. His opponent to the bottom left, the Zerg player representing Splice. It is Solar, the defending SSL champion. Wants to be the first to hold 2 titles and also the only to have back-to-back. One best of 7 away from that. He was able to prevent Dark from having that very same title last season in 2016, where he defended against a lot of Dark's aggression, went for the cheese in Game 7, put it all on the line when it mattered most. Have you seen it? This is INnoVation.
And that
He's also
is a lot of
them all.
pins.
Yep.
He collected all 10, actually, from SSL Premier Season 1.
Rapid is trying to listen to us back there. Can he hear us?
Rapid, do you copy?
Can you read us? Do you read me? Okay, well, look at this. Already a very aggressive opening here for INnoVation in terms of greed. Going for the command center first. Now, both players did prioritize Frost as their first map in terms of map draft here. So clearly INnoVation has had this prepared from the start. Wanted to take an economic lead here. And unfortunately for him, this will be scouted early on by Solar's scouting overlord. It's going to come right over there and see it. Would have preferred cross positions for the early game with this CC opening that he's using here. But at the same time, obviously, this will, if he holds on to it, give him a faster attack route to Solar when he goes for the pushes later on.
Yeah, and we're early on in game number 1, so I'm very curious. You know, Solar said it himself, a very predictable player in INnoVation, but at the same time,
oh, this guy's got
hold
the collection. Oh my God, this guy puts my collection to shame. Actually, might have even been a girl. I don't even know.
That was unbelievable. He had a sheet of pins and name tags.
I'm about to go ask him how much he wants for it.
That's the biggest hashtag big fan right there.
If you're out there, if you're listening, I'd probably give you a couple grand for that. If you're interested, come talk to me after the show. So anyways, it's going to be the scout here for Solar. Let's see how he responds. Looks to be grabbing a third hatchery right away. There it is. So we'll have that up just in time to counter this in terms of early expanding to keep up in terms of economy.
Yeah, and as I was talking about before, when you're looking at Solar's play, you're definitely looking at him to always make the right decisions, to come in at the right timing. If he has to sacrifice a base in order to win the game, he'll do it. He will make that right decision most of the time. But when you look at INnoVation's play, he's got some of the best macro play out of any player in the world. Not just Korea, not just Terrans. Any player in the world is fantastic macro. His timings are so crisp that it's unbelievable. So whereas Solar has scouted INnoVation here, INnoVation will eventually get that scout. And at these positions, INnoVation can definitely put on the hurt, especially with that early CC build.
That's right. So we are going to see the initial Hellions coming out reactored for pressure in this early game. Stim started afterwards. So we'll go over here to at least get some additional information, try to hurt the creep spread, clearing these Zerglings first. As it goes into the Stim, adding additional barracks afterwards here. And for Solar, obviously, this is pretty much business as usual. He will have the Queens out to defend. Already adding 2 additional ones here. Nice, okay, good cancel there. I thought INnoVation was going to get the deny there, but either way. Slows down the creep just a little bit here. But this is textbook INnoVation, right? You see the third CC go down, the additional barracks with Stim, going to the double eBays. He's looking for the double upgrades, or the follow-up attack with this large economy, the big parade push that's going to be coming across the map. We're thinking, of course, 2 steps ahead when we're talking about that push that's going to come later, but in terms of INnoVation's build, he's gotten everything he wanted, which is so important with how he plays this matchup to have that smooth transition with no bumps along the road.
Oh, yeah. And, well, I was watching their best of 3 between Solar and INnoVation. Every player in Premier has played against each other at least for one best of 3, right? So these guys had a best of 3. Solar did win that 2-1. But the first game was on Newkirk Precinct, and INnoVation did this exact build, down to the barracks timing, the Hellions, the amount of Hellions, the double eBay coming out, the third CC timing, nearly in the same spot in his base. So if Solar is trying to read this player, if he can get the scouting information and see this, he has all the information he needs right now. And by the way, Solar did take that game on Newkirk Precinct to win very late. I remember Solar, that was actually the game where he sacrificed a base. It was like his 6th base. He's like, okay, you can take that one. I got to wait for my ultras, my banelings to come out. And then he absolutely crushed INnoVation in the middle of the map to win the game. So.
Yeah, definitely a really passive way of dealing with things until he got those ultras out, having that splash damage. And you know, look at this game so far. I like that Solar is adding the extra macro hatchery. He's very much a player known to go heavy on the Lings, heavy on even Queens, and of course the Banelings for a long extended period of time, which is a good way to deal with the hyper-aggressive pushes that are going to come out from INnoVation with this really tight timing that he has, the exact build you mentioned. So very important that he has that macro hatch. He's also added a Hydralistan. Now let's see if he goes into Lurkers with this for the start, as he does have that completed now. We'll see if that's going to be the plan. Obviously no combat shields yet for these Marines, but they do have Stim. This is the 2 medevac timing we always talk about. INnoVation is a speedrunner of this. He's going to knock some of this creep away. Banelings on the top of the ramp, ready just in time, and so are the Queens. Shut down.
Yeah, good timing there by both players. I like that INnoVation, even with the passive build you went for, still looking to put on pressure once that Stim hits, trying to clear up as much creep as possible, forcing Solar to make some units instead of just droning heavily onto 4 bases and getting too far ahead. But Solar, being prepared for that, he knew it was coming, had the Banelings ready, and he does hold it off very, very well. And he does have that 4th base on the way. INnoVation trying to drop in here towards the 4th once again. Actually lost 6 Marines there.
6 Marines there in total. Really, I think there's 2 Baneling hits there, so kind of expensive in exchange, and he's not finding anything. Obviously, with the triple CC build, the push is a little bit later than it would be normally, but Solar is completely ready for this, completely set up. Having now Baneling speed about to finish, the 1-1 upgrades finishing. INnoVation hits his 2-2 first, though, and immediately starts the 2-2 right afterwards. Has his armory a long time ago. He's been plenty ready for this.
All about that timing. Now it looks like he's trying to come from 2 angles. This Hydraless defense is very interesting. You don't see this all the time. And he hasn't gone into any other higher tech. No Infestation Pit, no Lurker Den. Nothing really, no Hive, obviously. He's just sitting on Ling Bane Hydra and trying to drone up as much as possible on 4 bases on this very big map.
He also upgraded the Hydra's speed, so the Hydraless will be able to chase down and more accurately and more reliably deal with these drop ships, so that's going to be quite key. But yeah, very unusual approach to the matchup. Is going to look to push these back, but he's actually continuing to build the Hydraless too. It's not that he's stopped. He doesn't have upgrades for them, only the armor, but he's just continuing to mass up Hydras, which, you know, kind of begs the question, will we see that transition to the Lurker Den coming in? Will we see the Lurkers added into the mix, or is he just using this as kind of a stepping stone to get the Hive tech to hold on to his 4th base? Because attacking into these Hydras is very difficult for INnoVation, but he does find some more creep here. Not much else.
It's definitely a very interesting build. Usually, against Terran, you will use Roaches, Ravagers, if you're trying to use something that's not Ling Bane Muta in order to try to get into Hive and get into that higher tech, but it seems like he just wants this to be his composition for now. Heavy Lings, he's got enough Banelings to support this, and 13 Hydra is definitely not cheap. Now hold that thought. It looks like INnoVation may have found a hole in the armor, going straight for a drop on the main, as Solar is going for an attack.
This new, you know, Hydra Baneling style that we've seen so much in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup seems to be going well here for Solar in the start of things, but he has to come home because of that hole in the armor, as you mentioned here on the main base. Forces his entire army back, when you could tell, obviously, based on how he was positioning his army, that he wanted to use those Hydras, use the Banes to attack the 3rd base of INnoVation. He was in position to do so, but because he turned literally everything around for that double drop in the main base, this bought INnoVation time to more properly set up. Even now has a sensor tower, a lot more bio here, and look at the splits on these siege tanks. He is ready.
Whoa.
Question is that going to be enough against this large of a Zerg army? 2-2.
That's going to be nearly 70 Banes. He's got 21 morphing, 47 already. We talked about this before. It's a very low economy push. He's going to hit with 2-2. The Hydras are just kind of supporting and having a crazy amount of Banelings, trying to, I think, take advantage of Frost, because on this map with your siege tanks, you need to keep them spread out. And he's going to come from multiple angles. Here we go.
Okay, Ling's on the top side here, trying to draw that siege tank fire. Another tank is going to siege up here. The Banelings rolling in, not hitting too much just yet. The split's good for INnoVation, but this is just too much Zerg. The Hydras doing the real damage from behind. A few more tanks spilling out here, though. The Hydras, can they keep up the push? This is an insanely cost-efficient trade for Solar in terms of army trades here.
Oh, the SCVs, they're trying to run. They're getting shredded. And we got a couple of tanks around the high ground. But look at all those Hydras. They're perfect for the support in this attack. And it looks like he's actually done it here already in game number 1. Gonna force this 3rd orbital to lift. The 4th orbital was not even able to land at the 4th base location. And what a way to start off this series.
Yeah, smashing that CC, and this is just awful. This tank is going to get taken out as well. 20 kills, but clearly not enough. The block here, as you mentioned, on the 4th base with the Overlord, and you know, 3-3 is on the way, right? We talk about types of unit compositions. Hydraless could never really stand up to a large Bioforce that's heavily upgraded, that has siege tank support, medevacs, but in this case, because he has such a large army and he has this large economic advantage, he has the time to transition to a different composition. And during this window where the bio is going to be better upgraded and he's going to have this large force of it, which kind of counters the Hydraless composition, it won't matter because he just doesn't have enough of it to actually have that critical mass to fight. So Solar's going to go for this follow-up attack. He wants to secure this base, take it out, so INnoVation can never fully recover.
This is so cool, the build that he's chosen for this map. It just is seemingly perfect because you can come from so many angles. Here he comes again, coming in from 3 different sides, and that army is extremely puny for our Terran player INnoVation. GG! Solar is going to take game number 1 with a bunch of fireworks.
Very well done, very dominant fashion. He takes this game. And now with the 1-0 lead, the trend for SSL Finals, the player who wins the first wins every finals, with the one exception of last time where Solar lost game number 1 to Dark. He's the only player in 6 SSLs to not win, or sorry, to break the curse of the first game. And this time he already takes that first game. And remember, in terms of map drafting, this is the map that both players wanted to play the most, and he takes that win. So that's an additional part of momentum. This is one of the maps you know you're going to play for sure. It's a map they both wanted to play, so to take this win is so important.
Yeah, and I just want to touch on that style once again. You know, been checking in with the StarCraft recently. I haven't really seen that specific unit composition, that kind of timing on 2-2 with the melee upgrades and that many Banelings, but we saw this out of Dark when he played against Stats with the Baneling style up against the Protoss. He brought in something completely new, something that had not really been felt out by all the Protosses. They didn't know how to handle it, and, well, that style looked like it caught INnoVation really off guard, was able to take that match.
All right, guys, so this is it. We're going into game number 2. It's going to be Overgrowth for our second map. Can Solar keep up the momentum, or is INnoVation going to tie us up here? He had a tough game number 1, but he looks to even the score. Let's go into Overgrowth.
2017 시즌 1 결승전.
Huge cheer from the crowd here for our fan favorite, as you said before. But we're going to look at, down here in the bottom left, it is INnoVation losing game number 1.
His opponent, the victor of that first game, is Solar. Winning it with a really unique Hydra Baneling push. Remember, the Hydras with no attack upgrades, just the melee upgrades you talked about. The massive Ling attack, the macro hatch makes sense for this type of playstyle. I think you're absolutely correct. It was very much designed to destroy that sieged up position, kind of countering the fast 3CC coming out from INnoVation. And because he took that forward expansion, he was more exposed.
And not even just that. You know, we touched on all that, but when I was looking at those games that they were playing earlier on Newkirk Precinct, he always played that tank style. He loves tanks against Zergs, and I think Solar read into that, and he's like, well, if I just make a crazy amount of Banelings, because he's not going Widow Mines, I can just roll him over. You know, you can have 5 tanks in position. If I have 80 Banelings and a bunch of Lings to support, what are you really going to have? This is a really cool sign, by the way.
Yeah. Big fan there of INnoVation and Solar, and that font is actually very impressive for a forward array. Actually,
yeah,
left me guessing there. So for a minute, it took me a bit.
All
to
the
read
different colors and stuff.
But it was really cool sign.
Yeah, I was talking with him earlier. He thinks that INnoVation is going to take this one, and as I said before, I was favoring Solar on Frost, but INnoVation, he's been in so many best of 7 finals. He's gotten behind before. I think he's going to be really calm, cool, collected, and I think this is his map to take. He's going to have a really sick timing. I would expect him to go for that stim timing and, you know, the 16 Marines where you just get in there and pressure the third base. I think Solar's going to be expecting it too, but Solar wasn't able to hold it off last time, and I think he was expecting it that time as well. So
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see.
It's the real tightness in the quickness of the builds coming out for INnoVation. We talk about how Crispy as a player often robotic, and sometimes that could be a weakness, but when it comes to these incredible, very aggressive 2 medevac timing pushes off 2 bases, sometimes leading into the 3rd base, he's just the best at making it happen at the fastest possible time. So even if you know it's coming, it just comes a little bit faster. He's the speed runner of the build, and it's going to hit you fast, it's going to hit you hard. So went for the gas first this time as the faster factory, and he will harass with this Reaper just a little bit here. See if he makes the Hellions with that reactor this time as well, as we've been seeing a lot more of that. It's a strategy that I guess you could call newer, but it's definitely more popular now. And yeah, it is going to be the 2 Hellion follow-up behind this. Not always meta, but it's definitely kind of permeated this matchup now.
It's definitely very interesting. He will follow up with the infantry upgrades, of course, but this will mean that his timing is not as crisp as it could have been with the stim and the 16 Marines. Definitely wants to put on some pressure with the Hellions, as you were talking about. Looks like he will go up to 4 total. Yeah. Could make more, I suppose.
Yeah,
for that.
Just 4 initially with the fast factory here, so Again, despite the stim being later, the Hellion timing is going to hit a little bit faster here.
Ooh.
And we're actually going to see the Cloak Banshee follow-up. I was wondering about this when I saw the Starport's positioning. So he is going to commit to this quite heavily to try to look for economic damage. So very focused on the high tech, you know, the Hellions, the Banshees. But this will, of course, again, hurt his follow-up push. But I suppose part of the reason why he's doing this is to change up his style. He's shown so many times that 2 medevac push on this map. It's going to come eventually, that attack. But this is definitely a more aggressive approach. He's going to try to run by. He gets away with it.
Oh boy, there's not much here for Solar. Looks like one Hellion is going to go down, and he doesn't commit, funnily enough. INnoVation may just lose his second Hellion. That was extremely close. Loses the Reaper. And a bit of hesitation. And we see this sometimes out of INnoVation, you know, in the middle of the map. His push doesn't really work. He just kind of bugs out. His code is blocked. You know, there's a bug in the code, something like that. But I don't know, man. I feel like either you commit to the drones there or you just don't go in at all.
Oh, man. I have to agree. But also, like, this Banshee's now about to get scouted. He hasn't added a tech lab for that barracks. He's adding the third base now, but you have to imagine he's going to be adding that soon because he will eventually need that stim, but every second it goes by, he doesn't add the stim. It's going to be delayed follow-ups, but this is looking to finally be some damage here. Queens were at the third base expecting that to be the target location for INnoVation, and because it's not, he picks up 6 drones. Now going to the main base is going to get even more of the Banshee here. There is a Spore Crawler ready, but still, Banshee did grab an additional kill, and there's nothing to protect these drones.
You can't just defend this with only Queens. He wasn't able to take out enough of these Hellions, and INnoVation is getting crazy damage. 14 drones. Solar's down to 27 drones. The Banshee is still alive.
Starting third CC, obviously we talked about that earlier. Additional gases at home. No tech lab for the barracks. Could be a mech transition here with the 3 bases. So the second Banshee now comes over to the third base. He's just massively ahead in terms of economy now. 2 more factories. It is going to be the mech.
And wow, okay, this is even catching me off guard here, Wolf. I was like, yeah, of course he's going to go for that infantry push. Didn't happen here. Totally switching it up on Overgrowth, and I really love that. Came prepared for the finals. Isn't just doing his bag of builds and just going back to that plain old INnoVation style and actually, ironically, not innovating. But today he is, which is really cool to see.
He has Hellbat tech now with the armory finished, so we'll see what he wants to do with these Hellions exactly. Looking to try to find his way into this third base. Just clears up some creep, leaves with nearly 1 Hellion lost, but nothing else. This +1 is started. The Banshees here, the duo of 2, can one-shot a drone, as you see here. Looking for the second, will get it. It has Cloak available, of course, the retreat, but there's an Overseer, so it looks like he's going to lose a Banshee. But either way, a massive lead now for INnoVation. He adds the Thor tech. He's looking for some big, aggressive follow-up damage. He's also, of course, afraid of the potential Spire tech that could come out. That's one weakness right now, is the lack of anti-air with no missile turrets set up. But I think he doesn't even need these Thors for the muted defense because there is no Spire tech coming up. It's the
Scan the
common
natural.
Roach.
Scan the natural too. So he knows that there's no hidden Spire. He saw the main in the third before, so now he's 100% certain. And either way, we'll continue with those Thors. And it does seem like Solar has an idea that this is coming. He did add that Roach Warren. Seems to be heavily committing to that tech for now.
Yeah, and obviously Roaches are what you don't want against mech. You don't want to have Banelings or a mass amount of Zerglings at this stage versus the Hellions. So Lings do scout out this Hellion attack of the Watchtower, but it's not going to commit any further. Now switching, of course, into the more normal Siege tanks after the Thors come out. And again, an upgrade lead even for INnoVation, who got the armory out early, had that economic advantage, and now pure safety. We're even going to see the double Thor drop coming in. And look at this Banshee patrolling to wait for that drone to deny the 4th base. As you can see on the minimap, just comes over. Denied. See, for those watching on the minimap, like me, the avid minimap spy, there's no 4th base coming up for Solar. Now he has to go over there and deal with that. He's sending units to the 4th, but nothing in the main.
I mean, Solar has committed so much to trying to get his drones back. He just doesn't have any army at this point. Coming in here, going to roast up all the drones at the 3rd. Thor's still not cleaned up. Solar's sitting on basically only Queens right now and about 3 or 4 Roaches, so.
He's killing so many drones. Those Roaches are not enough. And in fact, if he tries to fight with them, he will lose them. 18 drones in total, so yet again, a massacre, and it's going to be time for a barbecue here at the Natural. 28, 32, 33, 35
tasty.
drones coming up.
Yeah, it's just way too much damage
This is game
here.
over.
What a build from INnoVation. I said this was going to be his map. I didn't expect it to go this way, but it looks like it's still going to be his map. Picking up both of those Thors can easily go back and repair them, and Solar is left with his base in tatters.
So definitely throwing a curveball in this second game of the series, and with the drone damage alone, INnoVation was allowed to make this happen, or mech this happen, as some would say. But with this now, I mean, the game is essentially his. All he has to do is seal the deal. But you know, when you look back at how this game happened, perhaps the Hellion run-by isn't successful. He has a tougher time transitioning to the mech because Solar is, instead of droning, making roaches to put some pressure on, which means you have to have the siege tanks, not the Thors. So because of that Hellion run-by that was so successful, INnoVation has given so much room to work with, and you can see what a small advantage can do when you're this good of a Terran as INnoVation is. Coming now again with the Thor drop, looking for the spawning pool this time.
It does so much damage so fast. That's only one Thor that's hitting that, actually. I can easily focus that down if he were, but just going to do a bit of damage, takes out the Queen. And you can see the big push coming on the mini-map now. This is with all the Hellbats, all the tanks. And this should seal the deal for INnoVation here in Game 2.
Oh man, he's just continuing with this, just trying to draw as many units away from that attack. Scan goes up, the Hellbats are just going to clear it up. Vikings here in position as well, just in case.
Look at Solar's army. 5 roaches, 7 hydras.
That's it, man. That's all he's got. Ravagers do spawn here. They're going to drop down some corrosive vials, take a few siege tanks down, but it's nowhere near enough to stop the push. Vikings could land. GG, INnoVation ties it up 1-1 now in this best of 7.
Yeah, quick clap back there from INnoVation saying, okay, you can take game number 1. Cool push you got there, boy, but I'm going to come back with my mech transition and totally fake you out. So tying up the series, we're essentially going to be going into that best of 5 now.
The INnoVation fan sign says, INnoVation, do everything you want. And that's kind of the story of INnoVation as a player, right? Always succeeding when ahead, when his build works, when the plan comes together. In this case, he got the Hellion damage done, had that flawless transition that he was planning to make to the mech. The drop of the Thors really sealing the fate of Solar, who had to spend all of his larva and all of his resources to re-drone after the Hellion attack. And the Banshees as well, which did a significant amount of damage. The 4th base delayed by that Banshee as well. So all of these things going right for INnoVation. When you see his plan kind of go in motion step by step, he's not really hit with anything. He just smashes through very clean. A true professional Terran.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, Game 3.